Thank you very much, Henry. Thank you very much for organizing the event, and thank you very much for inviting me again. I mean, it's very, very important for me to listen and to participate in this. And I thank you very much also to Ambassador in his remarks and his presence in here. Well, for me, it's a pleasure to be back at the Center of China and Globalization and to participate in this. If we had to describe in one word how to best respond to trends, challenges, and responses we were asked to reflect upon with this roundtable, I would simply mention common rules, to develop common rules and to maintain common rules. Common rules that are clear and provide a level playing field for everybody. On the public health debate, we obviously don't dispute the sovereignty choices of how to best deal and respond to the pandemic. But after almost 3 years, we need to know what we expect. We need stability and predictability. Our businesses community requires as much for their investment decisions. Our political leaders ask us what direction is China taking? And our citizens, be they students, artists, or simply tourists, are keenly in need of orientations and expectations. As the world is beginning to resume normal operations, China is still in pursuing a zero COVID policy. As I said, we respect the way China decides to deal with the pandemic, but we must ask ourselves whether the pandemic and the current situation, which goes well behind public health policies, as it impacts so many other areas and stems from geopolitical and strategic decisions, is conducive to more or less globalization, to more or less international trade, to more or less dialogue and cooperation. We believe in free trade and fair trade. We stand for the benefits of political dialogue, even when we don't see eye to eye. And we defend the rules-based international order, which has brought so many benefits to all of us around the table, including China. However, we also see the writings on the wall, and these do not appear to favor globalization in the right moment, or at least the kind of globalization we have had for the last decades. If that is indeed the case, where do we go from here? Hopefully on a path that focuses on three main areas. First of all, upholding the virtues and the necessity for open and a frank dialogue between all of us, refuting the idea of the West and the rest, and standing up for the rules, common rules, that underpin the international system. We are, after all, together in so many fronts that the idea that we can fight all our common challenges successfully without cooperating or by creating artificial divisions makes simply no sense. Secondly, we must defend multilateralism in its entirety, not just the common rules that we like best, but the whole system of norms that make globalization possible and the principles that are universal and accepted by all. And finally, we need to resolutely fight back against the erosion of norms, which, if left unchecked, would unravel the international system as the Russian invasion of Ukraine clearly demonstrates. In short, the common rules we stand for are the ones that allow us to avoid hollow debates on North versus South, or East against West. We don't believe in neither. Cooperation is needed in many fronts and does not prevent frank and open dialogue on issues when we disagree. On the contrary, actually, the more we disagree, the more we need to talk and to make bridges. The more we know and understand each other, the less likely we are to become prisoners of preconceived ideas and prejudices. That said, we must also be clear on the values we defend, the principles we uphold, and the norms we cherish. Doing so does not mean we expect others to do the same as we do. But we must recognize that many of those values and of those principles and of those norms stem from international law, treaties, and agreements that we are all part and co-signatory. Being clear on all of these allows us all to know where we stand and what kind of international order we want to see in the near future. So on this, we also need stability and predictability. I don't think anyone here will disagree with this, since this is just common sense. But on this forum, we are just preaching to the choir. We need to understand that others make decisions based on different factors and considerations. And those, if relying on analysis of the current state of affairs, point to deglobalization and to the revision of the long-held norms and values. So we must fight for what we know is best and has proven track record. And that is to go back to where I started, the rules-based international order that brings predictability and reconciliation, not separation, segregation, and conflict. To conclude, I would like, and I'll argue, that in one word, the current trend and probability that the post-pandemic times appears to be one of revising or even backtracking on globalization. And so the immediate challenge is to fight that and to defend the international order, its common rules, the level playing field, and the might and right of international law. All these so that our response can face today's challenges and avoid creating dividing lines where sides must be chosen and dialogue can only happen within confined lines. After all, we want one globalized world, not a series of a different and competing globalized little regions, when not divergent worlds. That is what post-pandemic times must not look like in the future. Thank you very much for your attention.